And then
I feel like we're about to do like an ASMR video.
No, we're not. We're not at all. But it's my favorite thing to do. In the beginning, he told me to clap, and then I would always forget to. Like the first couple episodes, I'd forget to clap. So now I just do it to remind myself to do it when he wants me to, which is pretty funny.
You're gonna learn eventually.
Eventually, it'll happen. Eventually, one day.
What episode number is this?
This is episode number 5 of the Submerge podcast. And how are you, cousin McKenna?
I'm wonderful, cousin Elijah.
I
don't think I've ever called you cousin.
I don't think I've ever called you cousin either.
We're gonna start that.
It's a moment. Doesn't Ashley call you Frozen?
Frozen. Friend cousin.
Yeah, I got the combination, and then she calls Grace that too.
Yeah, we get Frozen. I also get Ken a lot, obviously.
Ken.
She's told me that whoever I marry has to be called Barbie, whether they like it or not.
That's hilarious.
So that's gonna start.
I'm just lucky if people remember my name.
Same.
You know.
Same.
I told Robbie and Kira last night. I was talking to them. We went to Citygate, and on the way back, we were talking about names because they were talking about their baby names and things like that. And I was like, I'm just lucky if people remember my name.
Mm-hmm. Which Elijah is not a hard name.
Yeah, but people forget, and they're like, oh, it's a Bible name.
They just assume.
It's a Bible name. So his name's a Bible name. So I'm going to get, then they call me Isaiah. I've been called Ezekiel, Jeremiah. If you can think of a Bible name, then that's it. There are some people that ask a legitimate question, which is great. Is it Elijah or Elisha? Mm-hmm. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
I can see that more than just jumping to a different name entirely.
Yeah, they just, yeah.
Like if you have to guess, don't.
Yeah. Yeah, they just don't. But I used to work, when I worked on the phones, I'd always tell people, I'd be like, hi, my name's Elijah, this, that. And they're like, is your name Roger? I'm like, excuse me? And I just went with it. It kind of worked out because if they were mad at me for something I couldn't control, they complain about Roger. They don't complain about Elijah. They complain about Roger, or they complain about somebody else.
Wait, I love that.
Yeah, so it kind of worked out in my favor. Doing that, it was pretty great. Pretty.
I get like Mackenzie a lot. Like I get it, but like my name is a lot more common now than it was when I was growing up.
So is mine.
So like, just learn people's names.
Yeah,
it's not that hard.
It's not hard to learn somebody's name. I could probably tell you.
It's also, why are we too proud to just ask? Like, I'm so sorry. I forgot your name. I've known you for 6 years, but I forgot.
Or
we would save a lot of trouble and a lot of embarrassment.
I'm so sorry. My mind, it went blank on your name. I'm so sorry. Can you please remind me your name?
Yeah. And if you truly don't know, and if it's truly that embarrassing, just be like, hey, guy. Hey, buddy.
At the same time, I also don't ask people whose number this is when people normally there was during Thanksgiving, I had 3 people text me about different things where I knew they knew who I was. Yeah. They talked about the Lakers, and if you know, I'm a diehard Lakers fan. And they talked about the Lakers, how well they were playing.
So you knew it was the right number, or like they had the right number.
They had the right number. Or they talked about to me about the Ohio State Buckeyes. And I knew that they knew who I was, but I had no idea who they were. And so I was investigating, trying to figure it out who it was. I figured out 2 of the 3 people.
I think I had some assistant. I think I helped
you did.
In one of
you
those,
did with one.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, you did with one of those. Yeah, that person for some reason got a new number, but then changed back to their old number. So I deleted that number. It was just it was weird. But now I've got one more person.
I still haven't
figured out. They haven't texted me since.
Okay.
And I responded back to them. They texted me and I responded back to them, but they never replied back. So I couldn't get any more details. Couldn't get any more information. So if you texted me from a Tulsa, Oklahoma area code, I've there's certain people, there's obviously, but I already have their numbers. So unless they changed it, I don't know. I'm just rolling with it.
I kind of love that.
It's just how I really enjoy just like acting like I know the person. Like if sometimes if like spam or like somebody like texts me and says hi and I have no idea who they are, I'll have a conversation with them. You know, I haven't been hacked yet.
Not that you know of, at least.
Well, I mean, my bank accounts and my credit cards look fine, so we're gonna knock on wood real quick before we continue on. But how are you doing?
I'm so good.
That's great.
I'm thriving.
That's great.
I just had an energy drink. I'm awake.
Energy drink.
That's all I could ask for.
Man, I'd love an energy drink right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
You know, I actually just had a really nice glass of cold water, and it woke me right up.
Got some water.
Will is behind the camera hiding his energy drink. Why don't you have a mic?
I don't like to talk in front of people.
You're not in front of anybody. You could
just
talk.
I have a lapel mic that we don't use as much.
We need your color commentary.
We're gonna get you a mic.
One of these days.
I'm gonna request for you to start having a mic.
So and by request, he means he's gonna tell you.
I'm gonna tell you. I want you to have a mic, so that way we can just put you into the conversations.
Is it on?
Is it already on?
It's not on.
I want you to have a mic
Can't trick us.
that people can hear. Okay. Cool. Glad we talked that out.
Hi, Will. It's your birthday.
People won't see this episode until March, but happy birthday,
Happy
Mr.
birthday
Will.
to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Happy year that you get married. That's so exciting.
It's happening.
It is.
Do you feel so grown? Does it make you feel like a real adult person?
Yeah, it's weird. Definitely more adult responsibility.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. I love that. This is episode 5. If I haven't said that, my mind is just twirling with thoughts right now. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and get into this episode a little bit more. And we're going to talk about, just the power of social media. That's the biggest topic of today. Just how we as Christians can use that for the goodness of the gospel. And one of the most frustrating things for me is seeing Christians or people who claim to be Christians using social media in such a hateful way, in such a way that just pulls people out of having a desire for church, or giving somebody zero desire for church. And so,
before we go on, can I just ask, you can edit this out. I just have a question. Do I look at the camera or do I look at you?
Either one.
I'm not editing that out. That's perfect.
No! Will!
Either one.
I'm supposed to be the person who knows how these things work. I'm supposed to know.
He looks at me part of the time.
Okay.
He always looks out at me, or he looks at the back.
Okay, you're directly behind the camera for me, so I'm looking at you. Okay.
Yeah, I go back and forth.
Okay.
Really.
Sorry, continue.
No, that's all right. Talking about social media, talking about the power of social media. But before we talk about that, McKenna, you have a gift with creativity, a gift with social media.
Thanks.
and having an eye for photography.
Thanks.
Seeing things that the normal eye does not see when it comes to that framework of creativity. First off, I just want you to share your testimony, and maybe just give us an idea of how you got to this point of just sharing your creativity with the church.
So we obviously grew up pretty similarly. We are family. So I feel like my testimony after watching that video that you shared of yours starts pretty similarly, obviously. Born and raised in church, in this church. You know, my life was good growing up. Nothing crazy happened. Everything was good. But when I was like 9 years old, our family faced an attack of sexual assault. And I think, and I'm not going to go into that because that's not my story to share, but I think that was the first time that I ever saw like this bubble of how I saw the world kind of burst. Born and raised in church, everything was good, and then all of a sudden this really intense thing happens, and it's like, wait, bad things can happen. And from there, I found myself at the ripe age of 12 years old in like severe depression. And I think that looking back, it all kind of started from realizing that the world wasn't this perfect place, and that just because you serve the Lord, that things aren't always great. And from the ages of 12, 13, 14, the depression got worse and worse. I found myself really deep into that. And I got saved at 14 years old at a youth conference, which I told you this beforehand, but if this comes out in March, I will be celebrating 10 years of salvation this month, which is pretty crazy. Love that. But I think that through my whole life, creativity has been a very present force. I spent a lot of time with our grandparents, and Papa was like the most silly, creative man I've ever known in my life, and he really instilled a lot of that in me. And so it's always kind of just been who I am. But before I got saved, and even some years into it, I didn't know that it was a thing that like could be used for the Lord. I had no idea. It was, for me, it was just who I was. And you know, going on, this is the most SparkNotes version of my testimony that I could possibly give. But get saved at 14, and slowly over the course of the years, I'm 24 now, learning that the Lord doesn't just need to be something that's kind of on a shelf, but rather like inviting him into everything. And through that, I learned that he not only can, but wants to use my creativity. I believe creativity is central to the heart of God. It's literally the first thing we learn about him in the Bible, is that in the beginning God created. So through my teenage years, you know, I just am a creative person. And then when I turned 17, I think you actually gave me my first opportunity to use creativity in ministry. I got my camera like right before I turned 17, and a couple weeks later, do I need to pause for that? I'm so sorry. Take it back a couple seconds. I got my first camera when I was right before I was 17, and like not even maybe a month later, I had been taking some of the ugliest pictures like looking back on them, they were so bad, but Elijah saw some potential there, or maybe you just really needed a photographer. But he was serving with the youth ministry and asked me if I would want to start taking pictures in the services. And I did, and everything has just kind of fallen into place from there. Like looking back, the way it happened is kind of insane, but I don't think I've ever said it to you, but I do give you credit for my start. So that's pretty cool. I did the photography in the youth ministry for a long time, like 17 until I was like 20 or 21, I think. It's like a good couple years. In those years, I got asked to come start taking them in like the main services, and again, it just kind of like snowballed into I was doing it just as a volunteer, and then they asked me to come on as part-time and then full-time, and now I am doing it full-time in ministry in that aspect, photography, the social media, all of the graphic design, all of these things. And it really blows my mind to think about it, because I'm an art school dropout. The fact that I not only get to do this but do it as a full-time job and full-time ministry is
Yeah.
insane to me, especially because it is something that is so like near and dear to who I am as a person. So it's really, really, really cool
Yeah.
to look back on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible. No, I definitely saw the potential.
Thanks.
I saw the potential.
I don't know how, because every time I get like a Facebook memory or something, I'm like, how did I get my job based on this photo?
Everybody starts somewhere,
Yeah, but
you know?
But it's one of those hindsight things where I'm like, if I had known that, it would grow and the practice makes perfect of it all,
Yeah.
that, I probably would have believed in myself a little more. But sometimes I look back on those pictures and I'm like, potential where?
Yeah. No, I definitely saw the potential. And
Thanks.
also, I am not gifted in that field of photography. I have a mind for some creativity,
Mhm.
but
Everybody's creative.
everyone's creative in their own way, and they got their own
Yeah.
thing that they're creative about. Allow yourself to be bored to discover that creativity.
That is a big part of what I will be discussing today.
Yeah. Allow yourself to get to that point.
Yeah.
We can talk, I guess we can talk about it since I brought it up. Allow yourself to get into that position of just boredom.
Yeah.
I feel like we as a society, whenever we get bored, we just go straight to here and just watch TikTok or
social media is designed like even outside of the spiritual aspect of it, like scientifically, we are rewiring our brains to not be able to be bored. And like the average attention span a couple years ago was like 2.5 minutes. You have 2.5 minutes to grab me with whatever you're showing me, whatever media. And now it's like 45 seconds.
Yeah. It's quite interesting because you see the amount of people, which drives me insane too. I'm trying to do better. I'm calling myself out too because I'm trying to do better, of just having my phone off during services too, because it's like there'd be services where I really get something out of it with my phone off, and then you got people who are on their phone and they're like, man, that was a really good service. Okay, what happened?
What did he say?
What did he say?
What did he even say?
What did he even say? What did he
Give
even
me
do?
3 points.
Like after the service. Not this isn't like a day after, a week after.
Like literally right after.
Right after.
Because we've started gauging a good service based on how it makes us feel instead of anything that we can grab from it, any of the content of it.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing is, we're Pentecostals, okay? We love the feeling. It's great. It's wonderful. But we need the meat of it all. And if the second he gets up there and it's not interesting, like you said, we get bored immediately. We pull out our phones, we're scrolling, or whatever, but we can still hear it. We're kind of like justifying ourselves, like, but I was paying attention.
Yeah.
And I really struggle with that in the sense of, because I have to get on my phone and check the Facebook Live and all of that stuff during services. So it's really easy. And if we don't use wisdom with it, it's a hard line to.
If I can recommend a book to anybody, it's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
Yeah.
It's called The
I
Ruthless
saw that on your Instagram story.
Elimination of Hurry. It is. I feel like I recommended this on one of the previous episodes. Maybe not. I don't know.
Will's thinking about it.
We'll figure it out. But I will recommend it every episode if I have to. It gave me a different perspective of my phone, my social media, and just being in the present moment.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've had my phone, like whenever I go to the gym, I'll do a set, and then I usually would get on my phone to like see if anybody texts me, see if there's any thing on social media while I rest. I switched it from doing that, getting in, working out, and then like resting, but keeping my phone in my pocket. And the amount of people that have come up to me to talk to me about like the workout that I do, or just a conversation about the tattoos that I have on my legs because I wear shorts. Um, it's interesting because I've just allowed myself to be available to them. And going to like different stores, not having my phone out. I had a conversation with a guy, um, and he talked to me about, we got into him talking about how he got hurt from the church, and from that he just went into full blown like studying demonology and things like that. And I'm like, okay, you know, you say you have fear every day. I'm gonna guess that's the reason why.
Yeah.
And we got to talk about it, and hopefully one day that he will um come to the Lord and quit that studies. But
And you
um,
never would have encountered that if you had been keeping yourself busy.
keep myself busy,
Yeah.
or keep myself in a hurry. I had things
Yes.
to do afterward.
Yeah.
But I sat in that moment, and
So
it's like,
many of Jesus's miracles and stories happened as like an interruption.
yeah,
He was on his way to do something else, and the woman touches the hem of his garment and she gets her healing, and
Yeah.
the other person still gets healed too. It's
Yeah.
still gonna happen. What are we
Yeah.
in a hurry for?
yeah. I feel like we hurry to too many
Mhm.
things. That's why it's like I don't speed when I drive.
Same.
I don't speed at like
Will's making a face.
Will's making a face.
I have a bumper sticker on my car that says, if driving the speed limit makes you angry, please try therapy. And that's my life motto. And Will, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, and so it's like, what are we in a hurry for?
Well, okay. So I think social media 10 years ago or whenever, it was you went home, you got on your computer, you check your timeline, you're done. That's it. You're caught up. You're back to living life. Now our life is social media.
Right.
And all social media platforms are literally bottomless now. Like TikTok, you can scroll for hours and never reach a bottom
Yeah.
because it's designed to keep you occupied and literally suck you into there, and you're never coming out. And we are just constantly keeping something like right in front of our eyes.
Yeah.
And I think when we do that and we get our mind in that place, we are losing the beauty of stillness
Yeah.
and being able to slow ourselves down and hear from the Lord or be used of the Lord, or we lose the ideal of stillness and slowness. And I feel like, yes, the Lord can still speak.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Lord can still use us in this social media driven society. But I think that if we are constantly keeping something right in front of our eyes, one, in those moments, the Lord, it's harder for him to get to us, I guess. And then two, when we actually sit down for our quiet time, we can't sit still for more than 5 seconds without
Yeah.
getting distracted or feeling like, well, the Lord's not speaking to me now.
Yeah.
We've lost the ability to just be still.
Right.
And that's crazy.
Yeah. To just sit in his presence.
Yeah.
Just sit and allow the Lord to speak to us and have a conversation with us.
Yeah.
To listen, just sit there and worship music. I've started to just, after I pray, I've started to just sit there with my music and literally in my closet.
Yeah.
Literally just in the dark, and just sit there to listen to worship music, and just 20-30 minutes of just me not speaking.
To just sit with him. Because here's the thing is, even if he doesn't speak something, you're learning how to be in his presence.
Yeah.
And that alone is a gift. Like, that alone is something worth doing.
Yeah.
We want to leave our quiet time and leave our moments with the Lord with something to share.
Yeah.
Because of our social media driven mindset. We
Right.
want to share everything that the Lord has given us. And then in that, where's the sacred? Where's the things just between you and the Lord? Where do we learn to sit with things and let it really become what it needs to become?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's good. That's real good. So we talked about why not to limit your social media, but at the same time, the power of social media
Yeah.
can be important for
Mhm.
us as Christians to understand and to learn. And so, we shouldn't use our social media as like a main source of like spiritual learning,
Mhm.
because we can get caught up on 1-2 minute videos of like different preachers that we enjoy,
Mhm.
learning what they have learned. But why is it important for us to learn the power of social media as Christians, do you think?
So I think one, the world we live in today is run by social media.
Yeah.
Like everything is social media now. You can't go to a tiny little coffee shop without seeing something about share a picture of your coffee with
Right.
Like that's how we're surviving nowadays. And I don't think there's anything like inherently wrong with that because the the Lord commissioned us to go into all the world and share the gospel.
Right.
Well, now the whole world fits in our back pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it, like anything else, is a tool that we just have to use wisdom with it in
Yeah.
how we use it. It you go out and literally set foot on different missions fields,
Mhm.
and the Lord uses you there. But I'm not called out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I can still reach people who I couldn't reach before
Yeah.
just by using my phone with the Lord. That's I think that's the thing, is that we kind of assume that when the Lord does something in us, that we immediately want to share it on social media.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're always called to.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to call everything, and that kind of, or not supposed to share everything. And I think that kind of goes back to the whole what's sacred then. But like anything else, social media can be a tool. It just depends on whose hands it's in. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So we all have social media in our hands. So if we take it and we say, all right, Lord, like Moses, where he's like, what's that in your hand? He's saying, how can you use me? How can you use me? He says, instead of answering, I'm going to use you this way, this way, this way, this way, you've got this, this, and that, he just says, what do you have in your hand right now? What do we all have in our hand right now? We all have social media.
Yeah.
And if we are willing to submit it to him and not be dictated by like the way the world sees social media, because everybody registers their success by the numbers and how many followers and how many views and how many shares. But I think the success is in doing what the Lord calls you to do with it.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about the wisdom to use it correctly and to use it in an honoring and encouraging
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even saying necessarily that like everything you share on social media has to be some scriptural, biblical, spiritual
Right.
thing. Because I mean, you use social media to share all these super cool things the Lord is doing in you, but then at the same time, you have videos of you in Heelys riding around your parking lot.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because it's not like the Lord was like, Elijah, put your Heelys on and go to the parking lot.
Right.
That's not at all what I'm saying, is that it can only be the one thing. But I think that we just need to be intentional in how we use it.
Right.
Because it's so easy for it to become like our main thing.
Yeah.
And I register all my success based on this. And that's just not the case,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's the way that we use it is
Yeah.
important.
Mm-hmm.
My testimony video
Mm-hmm.
got close to, if not more than,
Yeah.
at this point, 5,000 views, which is surreal to me.
Yeah.
I know that's a small number to like.
But no, here's the
Like,
thing. I want to stop that right there. That's
Okay.
not a small number. Because imagine 5,000 people coming up to you and saying, wow, what God did in you is really amazing.
Gosh.
That's the thing, is we get so like, we see some testimony videos with millions of views, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
And it makes us kind of be like, man, mine only got, not that that's what you're saying, but mine only got this many views. And that's not really a lot in the big, the grand scheme of how many people the internet reaches. But that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, I can post something that I made or something like that, and it can get, like, 50, 60 likes or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not a lot. But if I imagine 50 to 60 people coming up and saying, hey, that thing you made is really cool, I'm immediately overstimulated, first of all. Second of all, that's awesome. Like, that is a reach, no matter what it looks like compared to other people's reaches. That's what I'm saying, is that we need to be careful with, like, where we define the numbers as our success.
You've left me speechless.
Nice.
Yeah. You've definitely just changed my perspective on that.
I mean,
for
it
sure.
literally changed my life, because I do it for a living. And our church reaches a lot of people.
Yeah.
There are some mega churches out there who are reaching a lot of people.
Yeah.
But when I sit and I think about, I'm doing my ministry of taking photos of what the Lord is doing and then sharing that, even if one person comments and is like, man, this photo, like, I can see the Lord on this.
Yeah.
It immediately takes away the feeling I have of, one, not feeling like it's doing a lot because not that many people are seeing it.
Yeah.
Two, there are people who aren't going to understand why I do what I do. And I think it's all about, like, that perspective of, this isn't everything.
Yeah.
This can reach billions of people. But if I can reach 5,000 people, that's insane. And that's so cool.
Yeah. It's surreal to
Yeah.
to think about that. But I had somebody come up to me last night at church and they said, I saw your video. We don't follow each other.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they saw it, but they said, I saw your testimony video and I can just tell that you're a genuine person just from the
That,
video.
I feel like alone should tell you that. So, like I just said, numbers aren't like the end goal,
Yeah.
but it's reaching people you don't even know it's reaching.
Yeah.
And that goes with everything that we put out.
Yeah.
And I think that it also goes with our lives, We don't know how many people our lives are touching in that same
Yeah.
aspect. Social media is a very, like, interactive
Yeah.
platform. We sit and we gauge it based on our interactions, and there's a better word for that I can't think of right now, but
That's okay.
we're gauging it based on the way that people interact with it.
Yeah.
The thing is that in real life, most people aren't gonna interact. Like you said, we're busy. You wouldn't have had that conversation with that man if you had been busy, like most people are.
Right.
How many people want to come up to you and say, man, that really blessed me, but they don't.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten ourselves out of that mindset. Oh my God, it's closer to 7,000 or 8,000 now. Elijah, did you hear that? And I don't even know if all social media platforms register every single. And you don't know how many people shared it to their stories and somebody clicked on it based on that and all of that kind of stuff. So, like, I feel like right now you just need to get out of that mindset of, like, gauging your success in ministry right now based on that.
Definitely reached more people than you thought it would.
Yeah. Because I know you, and I know that you're going to be content to, like, have this kind of atmosphere where you sit down and just give your testimony to one person, and that's a success. But this thing that because this goes back to whose hands is it in? You took this thing and you said, all right, God. Like, you literally, there's a testimony video of you somewhere just being like, I say yes. God, I say yes. Like, you said yes. And he said, all right, bet. And he's taking it and doing things with it that you never could have thought. Are we still talking about social media right now? How did we get here?
My cousin's preaching to me.
Hallelujah.
I'm trying not to cry.
Aw. Just sit with it for a second. I'm gonna take a drink.
It's okay. It's just it is a surreal thing.
Yeah.
If people listen to the second
Thank you, Will.
Thanks, Will. If
That was Will's first appearance on camera, everybody.
he didn't make
Your
it,
hand
he's gonna
wasn't in there?
How funny will it be to you
Just a
if
single
you
little
edit
hand.
if you edit it out to where that just magically appears?
Or just like pixelation over your hand coming in. Sorry, continue.
No, it's okay. If people listen to the second episode where I share everything
Oh gosh, really? I was
about
gonna ask you about
everything that if I shared everything, it would take hours.
Yeah.
It would take a long time. But a lot of stuff that people I don't talk about. To see where I was then, to then be reminded of that I'm going to speak in front of thousands of people one day.
What do you mean one? You literally 5,000 people. You already have. You're already doing it.
Gosh.
You're already doing it. That's what's crazy is I wholeheartedly believe, and I am in full agreement with the fact that you will like physically stand before those people one day. But like you're literally already doing it. And you don't even know it. And you're like getting yourself ready. Like, okay, if you get into that perspective of, man, I'm already doing this, one day when you're like physically looking the people in the eyes, it's going to be so much easier. Because you're going to think, well, man, I'm already doing it. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you cry.
It's okay. It just never hit me like that, I guess.
You're doing it.
That it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah.
Like, and
and it's only gonna get better.
I've got these visions that I know are from the Lord, where it's like it's gonna be in front of physical people, and it's like I know it's from the Lord because those are the visions that got brought back in that moment when Pastor Tom spoke over my life. That dreams will be brought back, and to just sit here and think it's already happening.
Yeah. Oh my God. And here's the thing is, 6,000-7,000 people see this video. Here comes an event one day where Elijah Beers is headlining. All those people already know who you are and are more likely to come or tune in online via social media. Via social media.
Gosh.
Will is behind the camera having the time of his life. And Will, you have a hand in it too.
People are seeing your work.
You have a hand in it too. Like, I know how crazy it is for people to see and love your work. And like, you literally just sit there and like, yeah, 7,000 people just saw the video that I made for my friend. No big deal. No big deal. It's crazy.
And then the other one that's about to drop, that's only a minute long.
That's within your 45-second to a minute attention span. That's why I try to make it.
No, so you have like, which we can cut this out. This is kind of a side tangent, but like you have that much time to like grab somebody's attention, which I think sometimes when we're like sitting and scrolling, we have like literally 2 to 3 seconds to officially grab somebody's attention. It's crazy the way that it's like literally rewiring our brains, which is why people get so bored in church services.
Yeah.
Can't pay attention for more than 10 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
We already got into that. Don't get me heated again.
No, it's okay. We already got into it. We'll go on to the next thing because you mentioned scrolling. A lot of times I'll be scrolling and I'll see a video that I probably isn't the most like my algorithm's trying to get me to fall into this, and I don't think it's the most appropriate video.
The algorithms are literally designed to do so, is the thing.
Yeah, and what I'm getting at is I'm like, oh, I shouldn't like this because I know people are going to see that. And you just got to look at the bottom left corner and you see who of your friends liked it. And it's like, I'll be scrolling and I'll see a video that I think's funny and I'll scroll and I'm like, huh, I didn't think they would think this is funny.
Yeah.
But they liked it. Now, some people, I scroll and I'm like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, that makes sense.
So I
But
think social media is literally mindless
yeah,
a lot of times now. And sometimes people who like that stuff, you'll be like, hey, I saw that you liked this thing. Or like you send it to them and you're like, not you liking this. And they're like, I don't even remember that.
yeah,
I don't remember because it's one, we are filling ourselves with so much.
yeah.
Two, we are doing it so mindlessly that it's an instinct to hit like. I'm not proud of this. I've been reading before and double tapped to be like, oh, that's good.
That's hilarious.
Terrible,
That's
terrible,
actually
terrible.
really funny.
They call it
But
doom scrolling.
Yes, doom
yeah.
scrolling. Mhm.
Well,
Which isn't giving self control. It's very much not giving self control. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, and I've watched, like, I've unfollowed a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
not because they're like bad people, but like there are people probably a lot people don't agree with, or
Mhm.
like if they saw that I like followed them, they
Yeah.
probably question things.
It dampens the validity of what you stand for when you are coming in agreement with things that don't go in line with what you stand for.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what I wanted to get on, is talking about the importance of just like watching what you like, watching what you comment on, and
Mhm.
watching who you follow. Why do you think that's important?
Well, I mean, hold on, let me pull this.
That's okay.
Um,
You can pull your notes. It's okay.
I have notes. Okay, so I mean, the scriptures literally say that like out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth speaks. So like what you take in, to simplify it, is literally just what's going to come out. So one, I think we need to be careful for our own sake of making sure that the Lord speaks to you, this thing is going to happen. If you aren't making choices that line up with that thing actually happening,
Yeah.
how is it going to happen?
Right.
And so if the Lord calls us to be somebody or to behave a certain way, or the scriptures command us to be or behave a certain way, and we follow and like and interact and feed ourselves things that don't line up with that, how successful is that going to be
Yeah.
in actually coming to pass?
Yeah.
So I think that one, for our own sake, we just need to be careful for what we're taking in, because if we fill ourselves up with so much, one, we go back to it's harder to hear from the Lord. Two, if it's not in line with the life that we're trying to live with the Lord and what He's called us to and things that we believe, then we're kind of putting contradictions in our spirit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that makes, again, the Lord can still move, the Lord can still work, but how easy? I would rather make it easier for Him. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Not that He can't do it, but I would rather make it less resistance. And then you also have the aspect of people can see everything you like and comment on
Yeah.
nowadays. We need to be careful with, we are ambassadors for Christ.
Yeah.
We need to be careful in how we present ourselves, because the way we present ourselves is, in a sense, how we're presenting Him. We live in a I hate to be that person that's like, we live in a society, but our society cancel culture is crazy.
Yeah.
I've been on TikTok, which I deleted TikTok. I don't have it anymore. For
I
the
never
doom
had it.
for the doom scrolling
Never had it.
purposes. I think it can be beautiful, cuz creativity on there is so fun. I have seen some of the coolest stuff on there. But then again, I've seen the coolest stuff on there 4 hours ago and I'm already at the bottom of my feed and still scrolling, you know what I'm saying? So it was one of those things where I weighed the good and the bad, and the bad far outweighed the good. Pray about if God would have you delete TikTok. Don't just do it because I just said that. Thank you so much. Anyway, what was I even just talking about?
I will buy the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry for you right now if you want to listen. Yes, for audio book or for a book. I'll buy it for both Will and McKenna. What?
Will, you can talk.
I'm not.
Talking about the camera.
I'm not talking about them.
This is just
I'm
a
looking
side
at you,
tangent.
Will.
Right in the eyeballs.
I'm looking at you.
I have 2 books I have to read.
Well, could I give you an audiobook to listen to? I will buy it for you. I'm buying it
Happy
for you.
birthday. Here's an audiobook. Okay, what was I even just saying? I don't
Uh,
even remember.
You reached the bottom, you deleted TikTok.
I deleted, yeah, but what before that? I got on a tangent about TikTok. Oh, so we are ambassadors
Yeah.
for the Lord, and so I think that our society, you know, you go on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, you see somebody who has like a good following, a good like platform. They do one thing that people don't agree with, and oh my God, World War III has just started.
Yeah.
People
they're
are
done for.
getting people in comments are trying to hold people accountable for things they don't even hold themselves accountable for.
Yeah.
And I think it's especially bad in the church and in Christian TikTok and Instagram and social media because our standard is Christ. And so when we fall below that, people want our necks.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like people in the church. I'm not even just talking about, you know, people who don't believe what we believe.
Yeah.
You know, you expect that from them. They're saying like, "Hey, you're not living according to your own standards." Like that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But we got people in the church who from behind their phone screen are being some of the nastiest, ugliest people I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And we're just feeding it because we are not living a life that we're living a life that gives them fuel for that
Yeah.
by not being consistent with what we preach and what we consume. And I'm not perfect by any means. This is me speaking from what the Lord has corrected me on.
Yeah.
But I think that it all comes together in we need to represent Christ well, and we need to make sure that we are consuming things that don't hinder that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's good. I think it's important because there's a lot of times where I'll go to like, I'll see like a Christian video or Christian post and I'll read the comments and they'll be like, I disagree with you on this, this, and this. And
Everybody wants to humble everybody else.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think social media in recent years has become so bad with is everybody feels this incessant need to humble each other.
Yeah.
You go to any social media thing, it can be the most harmless video you've ever seen in your life. So wholesome, so cute, so fun. Go to the comments. Top comment is like, she thought she ate. Like, what the heck is that? Why do we want to humble each other?
I don't understand it.
Which like keep each other humble, but like we have this need to feel superior and be like, I caught you not keeping yourself up to your own standard. Like we want to be petty so bad. And how does that honor God?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Like
Stop it.
This is your official reprimand.
Stop it. Be nice to people.
It's not hard. It's not hard to not. It takes more energy to comment something than to keep your opinion to yourself.
Because then you have to go into like, once you comment, you know, you're going to have several people comment back. So then you either decide whether you want to defend yourself or you just ignore it. But
I think every problem with social media comes back to the desire, this very human desire to be seen and to be heard.
Yeah.
And every opinion we have, we want somebody to see it and to hear it. Whether it's good or whether it's bad, and whether their response is good or bad, we feel seen, we feel heard.
Yeah.
And that's all we care about, more so than we care about edifying each other and encouraging each other and keeping our mouth shut when we don't have something nice to say. That's biblical.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we have taken, we're supposed to be in this world, but not of it.
Yeah.
And we on social media, it's very much not giving in this world, but not of it. The way some of y'all talk about politicians on social media is disgusting. And I'm just going to leave that there. Don't get me heated.
With that, with like posting
Yes.
and things like that, why is it important for us to present ourselves like with like thinking about how we post things or what we post things? Like me, for example, I've got 7 tattoos. And I know that there are people who disagree with that. There are people who don't like them. I know that it could potentially hurt, you know, like some ministry opportunities. It may. So I don't post about them.
Yeah.
I don't talk about them.
I don't either.
I don't talk about them. I also won't get them on. No, it's okay.
No, I literally I don't post about mine either. And it's not because I'm like ashamed of them
Yeah.
or I feel like I'm going to have to justify it to people, but somebody told me one time that when I was a youth leader, they said anything that you do in moderation, somebody who's looking up to you is going to do in excess.
Yeah.
So when it's something like tattoos or anything that's kind of like a gray area where it's like a conviction based thing, I feel like we need to be careful about promoting them as absolutes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We don't feel convicted about tattoos. There's somebody out there who might, and the Lord is calling them not to do it because
Yeah.
they'll go crazy with it and it'll become a god or an idol to them. And they might see you share something and be like, well, Elijah is, he's this minister that I look up to and he has them, so that must mean it's okay. And then they go and get 37 tattoos that the Lord didn't tell them it was okay to do.
Yeah.
And so
That makes sense.
I think that it's with anything else. Will is having a time behind the camera. With anything else, we have to take it to the Lord first.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is we live in a share now, pray about it later kind of society. And that when you share something on social media, it's out there. That's it. And so if you're not going to seek the Lord about it first, you're going to have to deal with the repercussions later.
Yeah.
And so we need to be a pray about it first, seek the Lord first, then share something. Let things become what they need to become, then share it. Because, again, we are ambassadors for Christ. And what we put out there represents him.
Yeah.
More than it ever represents us, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah.
Especially if you have his name, plastered over your life. We shouldn't live our lives dictated by the people who have something nasty to say about, in this example, tattoos or anything to that effect.
Yeah.
But we need to use wisdom and seek him in what we share and what capacity we share it in.
I think a big part of it
because you're not you don't keep it secret that you have tattoos. You don't, but it's one of those things that is a conviction between you and the Lord.
Yeah.
So it's between you and the Lord. And if somebody comes up, I had somebody come to me one time when I was working a church service and they saw one of my tattoos and they said, seeing somebody, they had known me been talking for a while and everything. They were seeing somebody with tattoos working in the ministry and doing what you do and doing it well and the Lord's hand is on your life with tattoos. That gives me hope for my granddaughter who's covered in tattoos. First of all, I could have wept right there. Second of all, people see it and it's one of those things where it's we're not supposed to look like the world. It's well, my heart looks like Jesus.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Yeah. That's what I was going to get at. Where's your heart posture when it comes to it?
You can be the most baby smooth person I've ever seen, but you've got the devil's name tattooed on your heart. And that's hideous.
Yeah. Yeah. All of my tattoos have meaning to me.
Exactly.
And also my heart posture.
It's the heart posture.
Why did I want to do it? First off, I love tattoos. I like
that's creativity.
The artistic freedom and creativity of them. But at the same time, I enjoy the conversations with the people who don't know God that come up to me and talk to me about my anime tattoos and talk about the different tattoos that I have, and then I'm able to convert it into a conversation about the Lord. Or that's always been my mindset is, okay, how can I get this to turn into a conversation where somewhere I bring up Jesus.
Yeah. And there are some people, and 95% of the time it's the church, who they'll see something like that isn't, in their mind it's very black and white.
Yeah.
Tattoos bad. God hates tattoos and all of the things. To them, they'll immediately shut you off. And I think if you immediately shut something off based on appearance, that does a lot more to you than it ever will to the person that you're saying it to.
Yeah.
I think that we need to be careful to use discernment, with what we take in and who we trust and people with things that don't line up 100% with what we do or what we believe. But sorry, that really just threw me off for a second. We need to we can't live our lives based on the people who are closed-minded.
Yeah.
Because Christ was a very open-minded not like a accepting of everything that isn't biblical and all of that kind of stuff, but open-minded in the sense of like Christ can be found and move through people who don't look like you expected them to. And oftentimes, those are the people he's moving through. And I think that we need to, when we present ourselves on social media, we need to keep in mind that there are people like that who will shut it off, cut and dry right there. But we don't need to cater to that, because I think it's important that people know that Christ doesn't just look like one thing.
Yeah.
And a relationship with God doesn't just look one way.
Yeah.
And I feel like it all kind of comes back to full circle of social media is great, but it can't be your only source.
Yeah. And just be careful how you present yourself on it.
Yeah.
Being
It should
careful.
always point back to Christ.
Finding a way to point back to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, even in the funny videos that I make,
Yeah.
like you can see, I'm so happy and I enjoy making people
There's
laugh.
joy in that, and that's some of the weirdest stuff I've ever seen in my life, but it is wholesome. And so people know that, one, God's not boring. Just because I love the Lord doesn't mean everything I put out about myself or everything that I do is some biblical, like the Lord said, yay, yay moment. But it... You gotta be careful. But I think that, there are probably people who have seen your silly little videos and they're like, man, but he just went through this thing.
Yeah.
He just had the worst year of his life. And he's on here healing in his parking lot and doing food and drink reviews with a silly filter.
Shows.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just because it's not like, bam, God's in your face kind of representation. God is still present in all of it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's my take on social media.
That's great. I think it's good. The final question that I've been asking everybody is, why do you believe what you believe? What got you to this point of believing that this God that we can't even see is real, is something that you're willing to give your life for? Yeah. So that's my question for you to end this. Why do you believe what you believe?
So, like we said kind of at the beginning, we were born and raised around God.
Yeah.
He's always been a very presence in my life. And for a very, very, very long time, that was something that I just, I knew God, he's here, he's whatever, but he was on a shelf. But when I got saved and through the past 10 years, which is crazy, of living with him, I've experienced him. I think that's the thing, is it goes back to, it all has to be personal.
Yeah.
I, for a long time, lived with my grandfather's God.
Yeah.
Or my parents' God. But when I made the choice for him to become mine, getting to know the Lord has been the sweetest and scariest and weirdest and best experience of my life. And I believe in him because I see him in everything.
Yeah.
Like quite literally everything. Like we just showed how the Lord could be found in a video of you with a silly filter on your face.
Yeah.
Talking about candy and sour drinks and things like that. The Lord is present in everything to those who are willing to look for him.
Yeah.
And I believe in him because I've looked for him and I found him. And he shows up in quite literally every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
In ways that sometimes I look back and it kind of scares me. I'm like, oh dang, that part worked for my good?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh my God, take a shot every time I say that's crazy. Don't actually take a shot. Take a shot of grape juice.
You should take a shot every time of grape juice or an energy drink every time I say, Will's laughing right now. 'Cause the amount he took out in my video, it was a 13-minute video.
Oh God.
He took out 3 minutes worth of me saying, and that I still say it a lot.
That's
that
okay.
Video. But
you're just collecting your thoughts.
it's my safe word.
Yeah.
It's I learned that in communication class. Everyone has their own safe words,
Oh God, now Will, after you watch this episode, you have to tell me what mine is.
but will tell you that.
But
But-
yeah, the Lord is good. 10 years of like a personal relationship with him, I feel like I have not no choice, but like believing in him is the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because if I look at everything that's happened in my life and happened around me, and the way that everything has just fallen into place for me, and how I've gotten to know him, and the way that things have worked together that never should have worked together,
Yeah.
or things that happened that never should have happened, like, how could I not?
Yeah.
So I think that's my take.
That's good stuff. I'm going to pray. We're going to end this out. Father, I thank you for an incredible opportunity to talk about an incredible testimony about what you've done in McKenna's life, and give us an opportunity to discuss social media. And God, I pray that we as Christians will use this for your glory, that we'll find ways to have discernment on what to comment on, what to share, what to follow, what to like, and that we'll seek you first before we do anything regarding social media. God, we give you the glory, we give you the honor and the praise, and we thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.